if you had a flood and your water heater was underwater and probably it's not in condition where it is lighting up, I'll show you what I did with my water heater. And we had 7 feet of flood in our lower level, and it totally was over the top of this water heater, and the steps I took to get it running again. So it requires some cleaning up of the burner in the water heater, and this will show you step by step. So I have a Rudd Guardian system here, and this is from 2006, January 2006, so it's 13 years old, still running, and before the flood it was still going strong. The pilot light of course went off, and I was not able to light it up back, and so I'm going to show the steps that I did, because when I did it I didn't record it, but I'm going to show you the steps that you can take to clean up the gas line and also the burner. So those are the two things. I'll show you some steps here. Make sure that you take adequate precaution because you are working with gas lines. First thing, you should turn off the gas shutoff valve. The gas shutoff valve should be close to the water heater. So if it's pointing towards the line, the knob, then it's the valve is on. So first thing you should do is turn it off. So it is, if it's across the line, then, or it's crossing the line of the gas line, it should shut off. And so first thing you should do is make sure that there is no water. There is probably water in there. In my case there was a lot of water, so I'm going to take this off. You can just squeeze these and this cover will come off, and you can see that the pilot light is not on there. So once you turn the gas off, or in your case it will be, so I had opened this up before, so just turn this off and let the water pour in. In my case there was a lot of water in there, so I let the water come out and drain the water as much as I can. You can see this one has still some water left over. And then we are going to clean up the burner, and hopefully it will start. One thing you can do is, once you turn the take the water off the gas line, try to light it up. To relight the pilot light, what you have to do is turn this to the lowest setting. So this is the vacation mode, and it was probably on in your case like this. Turn it to pilot. So this is the notch, and once you go to pilot you can see the notch here. Once you turn to the pilot, you will be able to push this. So once you push this one, it will let the pilot gas in the pilot light, so the pilot burner. So if you keep it pushing, and then while you have it pushed, you have to light it with this one, and you will see a spark in there. So do it together, and that should light it. So in this case the pilot is not lighting, so what we have to do is remove. So first of all, make sure that the gas is turned off at the valve, and then I will remove the 3 connections here. So you have to remove this one. Here is the thermocouple. This one is the gas connection for the furnace, or for the burner, and this is the pilot connection right there. So there are 3 different sizes, and these are the wrenches that works for me. So this one is a 3x8, the smallest one for the thermocouple. This one is a 7x16 for the pilot, and then the bigger one I just used an adjustable wrench here that should take off the 3. So I'm going to remove each of these. And this one, you can just pull it out. This one is like a little plug here. So that's for the igniter. And this one is a bigger wrench and it should come off this way. So I'll remove these 3 and then we'll remove the burner. So once you remove these 3 connections, you have to take out these 4 screws. Now this one is you can see a star end of it, which is the torque screw, and I will take the 4 screws right there. So there are 1, 2, 3 and 4 right there, and that should take the burner out, and then we will clean the burner. Once you have removed the screws, you can pull the burner assembly out, and there is the burner. You can see some stuff falling. So there are the 3 pieces to it. The big burner is right, the opening is right there. You can see if I put it like this, there is where the gas comes out, the main burner gas, and that travels from this line all the way. Now that doesn't open unless the thermostat inside the gas valve detects that there is a need for more heat. So that's depending on the thermostat, assuming that your thermostat is still good and your gas valve is still good. Those gas valves can't be repaired. You have to either change it, and that's a bigger job because the thermostat goes inside the tank. Now assuming that it's just the problem with the burner here or the pilot light, usually it's the pilot light. So what I do is I will blow into this to make sure that the water is not there anymore. So that looks to be clear. That's a bigger hole, so that's not the problem. The problem is this is the one which is for the pilot light. This aluminum one you can see is for the pilot light, and these holes are very small. So this one is going to light up. Let me turn it this way. So this is where the pilot light lights up. This is the igniter, and this is the thermocouple. So the thermocouple, when it gets heated by the pilot light, that sends an electric signal or electric current, which is a very small amount of current to the gas valve here, and that will keep the pilot light on. So that comes through the copper wire, right? You can see this is the end of the thermocouple right there. So make sure that this thermocouple is intact, there are no kinks to it, and also the pilot line too, there are no kinks to it. But what happens with the water is there is a little orifice, the little hole in here that needs to be opened up. So I will use one of the bigger wrenches. I think this one will fit. So this is number 13,
and I will open it up to get access to the pilot. So and within that, make sure you have this little cup that comes out of it. So you can see it here. This cup is the one which is usually the problem. So you can see the cup right there, and make sure that there is nothing in there which will prevent the gas from going in. And usually I will probably just look into this to make sure that there is a little hole. You probably can't see it here because of my flash, but you can see through the little hole, and make sure that this is clean. And then put this back in. Don't forget to put this back in and tighten this up, and we'll put back together and then see if the pilot light comes on. Also, if this has oxidation, mine has a little oxidation to this thermocouple, you can sand it. I did a little sanding. It will be like white deposits on it, so you can sand that and make this a little cleaner. So once you have this this orifice out, I would blow air into this pilot tube so that make sure it doesn't have any water in there. It looks clear now. Otherwise, the pilot is a very small amount of gas that goes in there to keep the pilot on, and if there is anything that is restricting the flow, that will not keep the pilot on or not let you turn the pilot on. The heating chamber, you can see there is a little device in there. That's actually the device to make sure that nothing has gone wrong in there. It's like a safety device, and that looks fine because you see that there is a little capsule or little bulb in there that's still intact. Usually if something goes wrong, that bulb will crush or break, and the safety device will stop having the airflow come in, so the whole chamber will not burn anymore. So that's how the air gets in. So that's also good for now. I'm going to put this back after I clean it up a little bit and try to light the pilot. So I have connected the gas line back in the middle, you can see, and it tighten it, and then this one goes to the right underneath here, and this is for the pilot gas that lights up the pilot. And this one, once I get that, and this one goes, the thermocouple connects over here. So I'll tighten these three and then put the screws back on. Make sure you have tightened the screws. So it's a little difficult to align them, but don't tighten them unless you have put all the screws in their respective positions, and then it should be sealed very well so that no gas escapes from here. Usually the gasket should be changed. That's what the manufacturer recommends, but for now I don't have a gasket. I'll just use the one that is attached to it, or reuse the one that is there. So I've tightened all the three connections underneath, and I'm going to hook it up to this one and make sure it is there. Now I will try to light it up. So this is in the lowest position, it's in the pilot position. I'll turn the gas on, and I'll push this button, let the gas in, and then I will trigger the pilot igniter there. Here, without the flash, you can see the pilot is ignited. I'm going to hold it for a minute, and I'm holding the gas knob here for a minute, so the thermocouple gets heated up and sends the signal so that the pilot doesn't go off. So after a minute, I'm going to turn this switch to on position. So it's now in pilot. I'll turn it to on, and if I release the gas knob for the pilot, it shouldn't go off. Now you can see that the pilot is lighted up. It has got enough millivolts, and I release the knob here, and it's still lighted up. I'm going to turn this to on and just make sure that it is still lighted on, and it is. You can probably not see it and then what I'm going to do is turn the dial to the desired position. So I'll do it without the flash, and so you can see it. If the pilot doesn't light up, check for kinks in the line and the pilot line, and if the line looks fine and you have already cleaned the pilot, maybe the orifice is bad or your gas valve is bad, make sure that the pilot orifice, if you change it, make sure to get it for the right kind. This is the natural gas. For LPs, there are different orifice tolerances there, so you don't want to mix an LP with a natural gas orifices for the pilot. So there is the pilot, and now I'm going to turn the dial a little harder, and you will be able to see there you go. You see the burner firing. That should do it. If I reduce the temperature, I reduce the temperature again, and it will turn the burner off. Here you can see the burners have fired, and it looks to be working fine. This is a 13-year-old furnace, and I'm not sure how long it will last anymore. I have to check the anode at some point. Probably I will replace the anode. That's a different thing than this furnace burner. But if yours doesn't light up, it is probably, if your pilot lights up, then your pilot is okay. But if it doesn't stay on, it's probably the thermocouple going bad. You can replace the thermocouple. So as I showed you, this is the copper one, is the thermocouple. And if the thermocouple still doesn't work, then you probably have a problem with the gas valve, and this can be a little expensive. This gas valve is made by Unitrol, and they made those back on when this was made in 2006. The Rudd gas furnaces, the water heaters came with the Unitrol. Now the replacements one I was looking at, Rheem, and those look like they are made by Honeywell. So the functionality is the same, but if you want to replace the gas valve, then it's a bigger procedure. So this one, I thought that it will be helpful for someone who has gone through a flood, recent flood, and has trouble getting the water heater
reignited. So this should help.